for economic reasons or some other reasons. When they actually write about India, Indian tradition, Indian culture, Indian people, then those pieces of literature can also be considered as Indian literature. And we also took up the case or example of Ruskin Bond, right? Though he is British, right, or English by his cultural roots and history, he was born in India and settled here and took up Indian citizenship. And he is writing about Indian environment, right? The nature that he sees around in Himachal and other places. So such writers are also called Indian writers, and their work is considered under Indian literature. And when it comes to people who migrated and who are writing about India, right, who has their roots in any of Indian place, like Bharati Mukherjee, Salman Rushdie, right, V.S. Naipaul, Manjula Padmanabhan, Rohinton Mistry. So these are the people who migrated, or their parents migrated from, our forefathers migrated from India, and now they are settled in various parts of the world. And though they are settled in different parts of the world, they continue to write about India, about Indian culture, about Indian civilization, its history, right? And variety of things related to India, including Indian religion and Indian traditions. So when they do that, so their work is also taken up in the Indian literature. And that is why when you study Indian writing in English, right, or Indian some fiction or Indian poetry, you find their names also written there or mentioned there, and their works being taught in Indian universities. They carry dual identities like Indian American, Indian Australian, Indian Canadian, so and so forth. But the fact we are interested in that dual identity is being Indian. Okay, so if you and I happen to migrate to some other country, if that is what is in our what we say destiny, then if we go to any other country and we write about India, Indian traditions or Indian people, then that can also be called as Indian literature. So defining Indian literature, we took up three broad points, criteria. One, people who were born in India and writing about Indian in Indian languages or in Indian writing about Indian culture and traditions and history and civilization. One. Two, people who are not in India, right, who immigrated to some other country from India, but they have their roots in India. If they are writing about India, Indian culture, Indian people, and Indian things, then that can also be called as Indian literature. And people who have other racial affiliation, right, or historical affiliation, but they were born in India, or they have adopted Indian citizenship and they are writing about Indian things, right? Then such people are called Indian. Such people are also called Indian writers, and their work is considered under Indian literature. So these 3-point criteria we have taken up to understand what constitute Indian literature. I hope you understood this point, and we actually discussed this in detail in the previous class. So if you have any questions at this particular stage, you may pose a question before we move on to our today's topic. Am I clearly audible to you, and am I making sense to you regarding the topic that I am explaining to you?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now you have fair understanding of what constitute Indian literature, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, we also talked about variety of things like Sahitya Academy and how government is promoting certain official languages, and there are number of languages in India Ours is a very, what we say, linguistically diverse country. And we have as many as, 780 languages and 66, what we say, scripts. So we also try to understand about different scripts as well in the previous class, right? And
sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Yes.
Mother tongues are different from languages, sir?
No. So, for example, I'll give you my example. I know 5 different languages, right? So, but all 5 of the languages that I know are not my mother tongue, right? Mother tongue is the first language a human being learns from his mother in the family setup. When we come into this world, right, we learn the very first language from our own mothers in a family, right? So that language is called, mother tongue. In my case, Urdu is mother tongue. In somebody's case, it could be Telugu. And in somebody else's case, it could be, Gondi language, right? It could be Marathi. But that person can learn any number of languages later on. But any of the language he learns at later stage can never be called mother tongue. Mother tongue is the first language a person learns being a child from his own mother or in the family setup. Okay?
Okay, yes. Sir. And one more thing, sir.
Yes.
When they mentioned in Linguistic Survey of India that 780 languages with 66 scripts, then yes, 780 languages have both spoken and written. Only yes, they are mentioned as 780 languages. Sir.
Yes, yes. As I told in the last class also, speech or the language is basically a spoken phenomena, which means languages come into being. Language start when people start speaking, right? So it is spoken. Primarily, language is a spoken phenomena, right? But as more number of people start speaking about it, and as more number of people make use of language to do a lot of things in their life, including their economic activities, their cultural activities, and so on and so forth. So what happens is, some people who are experts of language or who have better understanding of language, they start developing a script or the written form of that language, right? And unfortunately, every language doesn't get that privilege, which means majority of the human languages do not have a script. Those languages that have a script are lucky ones. They can be preserved for a longer time. So in India, for example, take the once linguistic survey, which says that, we have 780 different languages in our country, which means there were 780 languages witnessed or identified as being spoken languages. Out of those 780 languages, only 66 different, scripts were, there, which means only 66 scripts or 66 languages were lucky enough to have its own script. So we talked about, Hindi, right? We have Devanagari as, a script, right? And Urdu has, Perso-Arabic script. Punjabi has, Gurumukhi as a script. Right? Somebody also suggested about, Telugu script. What was that? Somebody in the previous class. Huh?
Brahmi.
Yeah,
Brahmi script.
Brahmi script. Very good. So similarly, all the languages do not have a script. Take example of Gondi language. Gondi language may not have a script, right? And with each language, there could be dialects also, right? With each language, when we say Telugu, Telugu is not one. At least there are 3 different varieties of Telugu or 3 different dialects of Telugu. You have a different dialect altogether in Telangana, which is why it is called Telangana Telugu. And if you go to coastal region of the Andhra, then you have a coastal Andhra dialect. Right. And there is one standard dialect which is being promoted in writing. So, similarly, Urdu has multiple dialects also. We have Hyderabadi Urdu, right? Dakkani Urdu, we call it. But same Urdu, this Urdu is not same as the one spoken in Lucknow or the one spoken in Delhi. Though all are Urdu only, but they are different, dialects of Urdu. And when a survey is being made, they count everything. Because each dialect is spoken by a set of people, right? So it's a different language. And that is how new languages come into being. Excuse me. Yes. So I hope you are clear about this idea of script and number of languages, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So let's move on to what we say today's topic, that is Indian literary traditions. Before we jump to each of the 4 different major literary traditions, we have many traditions, literary traditions in India, but we'll take into consideration major 4 traditions. Okay. Before I actually take you to each of these 4, I want to give a brief about the background of India, right? As I told a point about one point about India, that the India that we know, right, the modern India that we know, it is not from where our history starts, right? We know that we have fought Britishers, and we fought with them for almost 100 years, right? From 1857 to 1947 onwards, we fought against them, we struggled against them, and eventually got independence, which means it is no more their rule, it is our rule. That is what we achieved by fighting the British, one of the most powerful empires or rulers of that time. And when we got independence from Britishers, so we organized the whole country in a very systematic way, in a modern way, right? As a modern nation state. And we have so many fronts, right? Cultural front, what we say, international relation fronts. So many, it's just like any other modern nation. Okay. But before them, before Britishers coming to India, or even before Britishers, there were so many other rulers, empires who invaded India, who came into India, right? And they ruled also. So if we trace back our history of this land, which was earlier called Hindustan, and even before that it was called with different names, but the land remained the same. People who inhabited in and around Indus Valley, right? They have a long history of say 4,000 plus years. Now the question is, have we done anything in those 4,000 years which would be of literary interest, or which would be called literary traditions? So the answer is in affirmative. Yes, people of India were learned at that time also, and a section of the society, right, were so much learned, so much so that they have thought about philosophy, thought about so many other things, and their thought, right, their understanding has fortunately been preserve in writing. And among such preserved treatise or literary traditions, we have these four golden names: Bharat Muni, Panini, Abhinavagupta, and Kuntaka. Each of these gentlemen, right? Each of these philosopher, you may call it, has contributed in a particular area. So what we will do is, we will quickly go through each of these four, Indian traditions. And that, from examination point of view, you may get at least one important question from these, Indian traditions in your paper, aspects of language and their relation to literature. I hope you are following me and I am connected with you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Am I being too fast or too slow? Or is it okay? The pace of delivery of my content or
the last chapter, sir. Isn't this the last chapter? Unit 19?
In fact, actually, the way university designed whole thing is, we had 8 offline classes, and we covered as many initial topics as possible in the offline classes. And in these classes, remaining topics would be covered. And at the same time, if you think that you have not understood any of the topic that is important, you may come up in the next class, or you can inform me prior that, sir, we want to hear you on this particular topic, or we need more clarity on this topic. Then I will take it up, because ours is not a formal class, it's a counseling class. So if you have any doubts regarding any topic, you inform me at least one class before, so that I can take it up in the immediate next class. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Yes, so we'll discuss these 4 different Indian traditions. Now, what I would do is, I request at least, any one of you to read it out. Anybody can volunteer.
Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, 2000 BCE and 2000 CE. The Natya Shastra is an ancient treatise on the arts. It is also notable for its aesthetic Rasa Theory, which asserts that entertainment is a desired effect of performance arts, but not the primary goal, and that the primary goal is to transport the individual in the audience into another parallel reality, full of wonder, where he experiences the essence of his own consciousness and reflects on spiritual and moral questions. The text further inspired secondary literature such as the Abhinava Bharati, an example of a classical Sanskrit Bhashya. Reviews and commentaries written by Abhinava Gupta.
Yes. Now, this is a very, brief, a description of contribution of Bharat Muni on Natya Shastra. Okay. Now, who is Bharat Muni? Bharat Muni is one philosopher, okay, who belonged to the period between 2000 BCE, right, and 200 BCE and 200 CE. He lived in that period. Okay. Now, the treatise, right, he gave, okay, or the topic on which he has philosophized few things, is called Natya Shastra. Okay. So you may be directly asked about, write a note on Natya Shastra, right? So your keyword or the central idea of these particular treatise is the very concept Natya Shastra. Now, if any of one of you is aware of Sanskrit or Hindi, right, or any of the Indian languages, right, would be able to make a guess what Natya Shastra, these two words mean?
Related to the dance.
Very good. Shastra means?
Book that deals with the dance, like that.
Very good attempt. Very good attempt. Any other inputs? What does Shastra mean?
Science
Theory.
deals with science, with
Theory.
Natya.
Yes. So it could be called as science, or in a more modern terminology, it can be called theory. Okay. Right. So Natya Shastra is basically a theory on, or a treatise on, the concept of Natya, which is nothing but performative arts. Right. Natya is not just related to dance, but the whole theory is related to, or is concerned with, performative arts. Now, among performative arts, you have dance. What else comes under performative arts?
The drama.
Singing.
Drama.
Dancing, and
Singing, dancing.
Like anecdotes.
so within singing, you have different kinds of performances. Within dancing, you have different types of dances, right? Dances. So similarly, things that fall under performative arts, right, are being discussed in this, which means a few principles or few rules related to performative arts are discussed by Bharat Muni in his treatise, that is Natya Shastra. Okay. Now let's look at this particular explanation. It is also notable for its aesthetic Rasa Theory. Now, if you pay attention to the words, right, aesthetic, entertainment is a desired effect of performance arts. Primary goal is to transport the individual in the audience into another parallel reality, full of wonder, a sense of his own consciousness, and reflects on spiritual and moral questions. Now you see, if you perform anything, whether you go and deliver a speech, whether you go dance, right, whether you go and sing, does it have to be pleasing to eyes and ears and to the mind? Is it necessary for any performance to be pleasing, right, visually, auditorily, and otherwise to the listener and viewer? Yes,
Yes,
it is.
sir.
Yes, very good. It is, right? If I am going and delivering a speech, or if I am going and singing a song, if the listener is not pleased, right, then no matter what I have talked about, no matter what I sang, which song I took up, the purpose is lost. I failed to do what? Entertain. Right? Which means, as a performer, I failed to entertain. Adelu Garu, please mute your mic. Yes. So, as a performer, I failed to entertain if I have not delivered the performance that is pleasing, visually, auditorily, and otherwise. Though it is not a primary goal, but it is what is expected, or it is what is desired. What Bharat Muni is trying to say is, though entertainment is not the primary goal of any performative act, right? But it is the desired effect. When you perform, it should be pleasing. That's it. He makes a distinction between what could be a primary goal. Then what is a desired effect? Desired effect, he clearly says it is entertainment. But what is the goal? The goal is, see, he talks about multiple things in goal of a performative act. If you sing, if you recite something, if you recite poetry, or you perform a drama, dance or a drama, what you should achieve by doing that? Number one, transport the individual in the audience into another parallel reality. Now you look at, I'll just give you an example of modern day theater. Right? Now, when movie comes, we go to watch movie. At times single, at times in company of friends or acquaintances or family. The moment you go buy a ticket and enter into a theater and take your seat, what kind of whole environment ambience is created? As the movie is going to start, you see that on the whole hall is darkened, which means you are not visually distracted, and there would be no noises. The whole theater is acoustically built in such a way that whatever sound is generated by people, right, is absorbed, and sounds and noise from outside could not enter the theater. So you have no visual distraction and no noise or no sound distraction. And you are seated in a comfortable chair. Then it starts the movie. Now for next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, excluding the break that you intentionally take, you literally go into a different world. You start feeling you are there. You visualize things. You experience that. You feel it for 2.5 hours. Does it happen with you? Have you been to theater?
Yes, sir.
Yes. If the performer, right, now the movie is a very advanced form of drama. In drama, there would be live performance. Same thing, but in a real live way. So if a performer on a stage is able to captivate you, mesmerize you, and take you into different reality, it means the performer is achieving the goal of performance. And you also see that, while watching a movie or a drama or a dance, you feel emotions also. At times, people find that, tears are rolling down. At times, they burst into laughter, a smile. And connect yourself, your conscious, with the one that you are seeing on the stage or on the screen. And also think about what is going on. Connecting it with spirituality or normal moral questions. Right? When you're watching a movie, you would also think, why Kattappa killed Bahubali? Don't you ask this moral question? Yes, you do. Because the one who performed there, the one who made the movie, ensured that this performance should make you reflect, captivate you, take you on a ride of wonders, emotions in a different reality altogether. So Bharat Muni has thousands of years ago thought about these things. He wrote about these things, that what should be the desired effect of performance art and what should be the primary goal of performance art. By now, humanity has progressed so much so that we are ready to go into any parallel universe or in any different planet than Earth. It's just a matter of time. Maybe Elon Musk may take you and I to Mars, to Moon. For a ride, perhaps. But assume these things being talked about, written thousands of years ago by Bharat Muni. And we were lucky that, those, written principles and rules have been preserved and brought to us. Which means we Indians were much ahead of our time. We know drama became popular with Britishers. They are the one who popularized it. We know that, modern form of, theater, that is movies, right? Cinematic art is just a 150 years ago, 100 or 150 years old phenomena. But what can and should be done with entertainment is being talked by Bharat Muni thousands of years. Isn't it great? Are you not feeling very proud being Indian?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the text, further inspired secondary literature such as Abhinava Bharati, an example of a classic Sanskrit Bhasya, written by Abhinava Gupta. So now it usually happens, whenever one book is produced, there will be a book review, right? Whenever a movie is released, there is a movie review. Similarly, when Bharat Munira wrote about this Natya Shastra, among the early people who read it, understood it, and had something to talk about it, right? They have reviewed it as an addendum to it or a supplement to what Natya Shastra talks about, and that is done by Abhinava Gupta. And his addition to this Natya Shastra theory on performative art is called Abhinava Bharati. So whenever you are being asked to write about Natya Shastra, please write about Bharat Muni, Natya Shastra as a theory on performative arts, and the distinction that Bharat Muni makes between desired effects of performative art and primary goal of performative art. And then also talk further about Abhinava Gupta and his contribution, that is Abhinava Bharati, which is nothing but reviews and commentaries. Okay, so I hope this particular literary traditions is very clear to you, and if you think this is fair enough, we can move on and talk about other things. Is there any question you have related to this? Do you have any questions related to this? Dears, do you have any question related to Bharat Muni Sunu Natya Shastra? Am I connected or have I lost the connection?
You
No,
are
sir, we
connected.
have no questions.
Sorry, we are connected, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. So shall we move on to another literary tradition?
Yeah, I know this is last unit. Are we talking about, or this is in the beginning? Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, like Alankrita, Vakroti, all that is there, sir.
Yes, yes. Those things are also there. You will come to know about it. Out of 4, we just discussed 1. Right? We have 3 more traditions. In that, you may come across those concepts of Vakrokti.
Yes, sir.
And other things.
And sir, one more doubt, sir. In Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, there it is given 200 years before Common Era and 200 years Common Era. What does it mean, sir?
The way Gregorians calculate years, it is related to that. Say, for example,
I think.
I'll just clarify. Say this is the timeline, that is history. You are going back into history, right? Isn't it? So at one point of time, calculations began, right? Which is called Christian era, right? So now if you are starting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Say this is 100, 200, 300, something like that. Now, if anything that happened here, right? So it is called 200 CE. Now, if anything started before this counting, what it would be called? Before Christian era. Now, what they do, they go in reverse order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is 200. So, which technically means 200 to 200, 400. So, in this 400 years, we don't know the exact date when he was born and when he died. Through a lot of research and critical understanding, it was considered that he might have lived in this particular 400 years, somewhere between these 400 years.
Okay.
Okay. I hope it is clear to you. Thank you. Yes. So now we are talking about Abhinava Gupta's Rasa Theory. Okay, we actually we know that Abhinava Gupta contributed to Natya Shastra, right? So he's the one who also gave Rasa theory. Now, rasa basically means, flavor, right? And those who attended my offline class, they have some understanding about this rasa theory, right? Abhinava Gupta came up with this, treatise where he talks about, rasa. He was also a philosopher, just like any other philosopher. Before we discuss, I again request any of the volunteer to read it out. Quickly, because
Rasa theory. Rasa, Sanskrit essence, taste or flavor, literally sap or juice. Indian concept of aesthetic flavor, an essential element of any work of visual, literary, or performing art. It was developed by the rhetorician and philosopher Abhinav Gupta, that is century 1000. The principal human feelings, according to Bharata, are delight, laughter, sorrow, anger, energy, fear, disgust, heroism, and astonishment, all of which we recast in contemplative form as various erotic, comic, pathetic, furious, heroic, terrible, odious, marvelous, and quietistic.
yes. So when we are talking about rasa theory, the first thing that you have to, or we have to understand is, what does rasa mean? Like the way we understood Natya and Shastra, similarly, in rasa theory, we have to understand what rasa is. Rasa is basically a Sanskrit word which means flavor, okay, or taste. From rasa only you have rasagulla, right? Something that is flavorful. Gulla, which is gol, which is rounded, right? And flavorful. So that is why it is called rashagulla. Okay. So you can remember it, that way. Okay. Now, this particular theory is developed by Abhinava Gupta in circa 1000. Now, because Abhinava Gupta, as I told, is writing after Bharat. The first one to write something related to performative art was Bharat Muni, right? And then came, Abhinava Gupta. So according to Bharata, you have different, emotions, right? Delight, sorrow, laughter, anger, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And these rasas are classified into 8 different rasas. And what you are seeing as 8 different rasas here on the screen are the actually English equivalent of those rasas. Like you have one rasa called, Hasya is one, right? Krodha is one, another. Bhayankara. These are those technical words. If you go and check different rasas, right, in rasa theories, so you will find the actual terminologies. But those terminologies are translated into what we are familiar with. These different emotions: erotic emotion, comic emotion, pathetic emotions, furious, right, and heroic emotion, terrible, odious, marvelous, and quietistic. So these are 8 different rasas. Actually, there are, I think, now, one second, I am just I think there has to be one more. And just give me a second, I'll just cross check. Or if possible, I'll just give you the exact Sanskrit words for those rasas.
Devotional is missing, I think, sir.
I think so.
No, sir. ODS is 7th rasa. You wrote 6th one.
I'm not talking about the sequence of it. I think, there are 9 basically. We have missed any one.
Bhakti Rasa is missing here, sir. Devotional.
Because, what we have is actually the English translation of that. So that is why, exact,
Sir, you have written 62 times.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, there is a problem in counting. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have 9 rasas here. That's what I was wondering. 8, 9. Thank you. Okay. So these are the 9 different rasas. Actually, you in your book, you will find, the exact, Sanskrit equivalent of it. If not, you can just Google it and find out what we say, Sanskrit, terms for these rasas. Okay.
Sir, in first year's book in literary criticism, there are different rasas from this, sir.
Okay.
It is like amorous, ludicrous, pathetic, heroic, passionate, fearful, now-seating, wondrous.
Yes, so those are English. See, the problem is those are the English equivalent of actual Sanskrit terms. For example, in what we say Sanskrit, you have krodha, which is anger, right? Utsaha, which is energy, bhaya, like terror. So actually, I should have, in fact, it's my slip. I should have written those original Sanskrit words. Instead, I written these things in bracket. Hopefully, we'll correct it for next time. But you just check in your textbook or on Google what is the Sanskrit terms for all these things, right? A few I remember right now, like Krodha, Sringara, right? Asya, Bhaya, all those things. So we should remember those original names and English translation of it, right? Yes, so I think today we have to somehow wind up with these because we are already we have crossed 9:56. Sorry, 12:56, and need to just a minute. Second. Okay. Today is 5th. So what we'll do is, if time permits, in the next class, which would be the next week, I guess, right? I'll talk about, I'll just give you these Sanskrit names of various rasas, and we'll start with, Panini Sastadhyay, then Kuntaka, Vakrukti. Okay. So if you have any questions, you please let me know before we close the class for today. Any questions from your end? Do you have any questions?
Right now, nothing, sir. It is given on page 167, some of the Sanskrit words translated into English.
Yes. So that is what I was referring to. If you have that in textbook, you please refer.
Second last paragraph.
So if it is there, you please refer it. In my PPT, I should have included that. So that is what I was wondering. So thank you so much for being nice students and listening to it and in participating in the class and making it enjoyable and a very great learning experience. I hope we would meet in the next class in the next week. Till that time, it's time to say goodbye.
Bye, sir.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sandhya, thanks for sending the links.
Send again next class.
Sandhya, kindly send for the next class also, please.